Hey scrappers, it's Tom from the iScrap app, and today is Wednesday, which means it's our time for our weekly report on YouTube and on Facebook. What are we going to talk about today? Market news, market updates, what you should expect at your scrapyard, and how you can make more money with your scrap. Follow me, let's go talk scrap. Have questions about scrap? Time to ask them now. Let's go.
Here I am, iScrappers. It's Tom from the iScrap app, and today is Thursday, June 3rd, 2021. So we apologize for being a day late, but we had things going on, and instead of doing a second pre-recorded video, we wanted to make sure that we were live to answer your questions. And if you're watching us live, by all means, ask as many questions as you want. We'll try to get to all of them either today or during the week, or we'll address them next week. Now listen, if you're looking for more information on copper prices, scrap information, scrap news, please, by all means, become a Patreon supporter. By becoming a Patreon supporter, you will get extra information pushed to you throughout the week. You'll have tips, market advice. We have the ability as one level to get monthly additional videos that no one else would get. By getting all of these things as a Patreon supporter, you're going to help yourself make more money with your scrap, and you're going to continue to see the markets moving in a different way than you'll see overall in other places. Now, over the last week, we've been watching these markets, and it's been really interesting to see what happened. Now, earlier when we wrote our report, the market was down a few cents a pound on copper, but here we are right now with the market down 15 cents, which with incredible fluctuations going on, don't be surprised to see your scrapyards being a little more passive instead of aggressive with these markets right now on the copper and brass side of things. Now, these copper markets are really difficult to gauge right now because there was no real rhyme or reason newsworthy to have the markets drop 15 cents a pound, other than the copper prices kind of following the trend of the overall stock market, which has seen a massive decrease after we saw 5 days in a row of increases. Now, don't forget, we're still in such a fluctuating period of time that this really doesn't surprise me. The fact that we've had copper trading over $4 per pound actually surprises me even more. These markets, while they're strong, they still have a massive amount of instability to them. And let me show you one of the things that I've been researching to give you a better idea. Now, over the last 25 years, we've had multiple recessions that have taken place. Now, most of these recessions can be pinpointed to some type of financial problem, whether it was the housing crisis or the tech bubble. These are things that you can pinpoint. Now, there are two events that did cause massive market problems, and they were 9/11, and now we have COVID. Now, I don't want to talk about COVID because we've all had it beaten to death right now, but those two market problems caused different reactions in the industries. Travel was highly affected, and then there was a longer period of time from 9/11 where people would go back on airplanes. And COVID, it was weird because the entire world economy was moving at a very solid pace. Copper had good numbers, steel prices were good, aluminum was there, but it was in the middle of a presidential election, which did cause a couple of problems, but we still had lowest unemployment numbers, really solid profits coming out from corporations, metal and commodity prices were steady, oil prices were staying depressed because the United States was pumping so much oil for the first time in so many years. But here with COVID, coming back, kind of snapping out of it. Once you get that 1 or 2 shots in your arm, all of a sudden you saw the entire economy roaring back in the summer of 2020 until today. We've seen a 12-month period where the markets have had a massive rebound. Copper has doubled in price. Steel has doubled in price. Oil has gone up 35%. All of these different things will affect the commodities in such a way that we have never seen before, because other than having the flu epidemic over 100 years ago, we haven't had a major thing like this. I know that SARS happened a few years ago, but it certainly didn't affect the world in a way where everyone shut down, 2-week lockdowns. So it was so funny because as the government put into place new unemployment benefits from 2020 through today, while recessions generally mean that people lose money, this COVID situation has had people staying at home, saving money because they haven't been spending it on travel, they've been receiving additional unemployment, and now the companies are opening up, we're seeing wages start to increase even though the jobs aren't getting filled. So it's almost like the companies are trying to give you a little more money just to get you out of your chair, out of your house, back into the markets. But these are all things that are affecting commodities in such a crazy swing. Now, when we watch this, we've listened to different scrappers, talked to them, and tried to see what's going on. And by talking, listening, and then absorbing, our newest iScrap app 2.0 will be out this summer, and it's going to give you, the scrapper, the ability to make more money. What is it going to do? It's going to show you market prices, national price averages, give you the ability to get quicker quotes through rrcats.com. It's going to give you the ability to find different scrap yards, view prices that have been reported throughout the country by doing different by looking at different analysis that we've put together through your reported prices. So of course, we're going to want you to put more prices in there, not only to help yourself, but to help other scrappers learn where the markets are. By feeding us different pieces of information, it's going to give the team here the ability to learn about market trends, help you predict where the market's going, and give ourselves different charts that establish scrapper prices instead of these trading prices, which really seem so ancillary. I mean, think about it. If copper's trading at $4 a pound and insulated wire is $1 a pound, how do those two correlate? Is it always going to be 25% of the price? Does the price go up as the markets go down? These are things that we want to help learn by seeing your reported prices. And a couple of things that we're going to do with our newest app, you're going to be able to take pictures in the future to upload prices. And we're going to work on a couple of things just to make it easier for you. It might not be the first new version that comes out. It might be 2.1 that has that. But we're going to try to make it much easier for you to report these prices so you can help yourself make more money with your scrap. Now, we have a question that I want to answer.
Will grill grates from barbecues count as heavy metal?
Yes, the grill grates from the barbecues will be heavy metal. And one thing you want to keep in mind, half of those are 304 stainless. So hit your magnet on them because a lot of them really are much better. But a lot of those grill grates are also stainless steel, but they might be a 400 series, which could be a little more. If you're not getting a lot of them with the steel prices being so high, throw them into your heavy steel pile. Now that we're talking about steel, we've seen a $40 increase since the beginning of May across the board for multiple different categories. We've seen brake rotor prices as high as $350 to $400 per ton, unprepared #1 prices in the $250 to $320 per ton range, and light iron prices going from $140 up to $215 across the country and in Canada. With these steel prices climbing, people have been asking us all types of questions. And one question that we had recently was about cars. And people said, hey, when you don't have a title, how will a scrapyard take a car from you? Should I cut it up? Is that how other people are doing it? Now, we don't really like to give advice on things like this, so we'll tell you what the right way to do it is. This way you can follow those directions and not get yourself in trouble. Now, if you have a scrap car, there is a form that your scrapyard should be able to provide to you that lists all the information and says the title has been lost, here's the VIN number, and here's a previous record, whether it's insurance or something like registration, that give you the ability to know that that was that person's car, whoever you bought it from. Now, if you don't have a form like that, you're definitely going to want to ask your scrapyard for it, and you might even want to ask them if they are able to make copies of it so you can use it when you're on the road buying cars. This way you're doing things legally. Here at iScrap, we try to promote things that do not get you in trouble, but what do? Try to help you make more money with your scrap. So when you're working on cars, whether you're scrapping the cats, and of course you're selling them to rrcats.com, whether you're pulling out the alternators, the starters, the rims, the battery, the radiators, all of these different things have value, but you want to make sure you do it correct. So work with your local scrapyard, who's hopefully an iScrap preferred yard, that gives you the ability to learn how to do things the right way. Now, with oil prices continuing to climb, seeing these steel prices jumping up really doesn't surprise me. I was talking to a friend of mine earlier today, and we were talking about the markets, especially the export market, and one of the things that has been happening overseas. India, Malaysia, China, and multiple other countries are still getting beaten down by COVID, and that's really causing supply chain interruptions. Now, you've probably heard about the semiconductor supply chain and shortage that we have right now, but when you have countries having people stay at home, that means that ships aren't getting unloaded, material isn't getting processed or smelted, burners aren't moving as quickly, and we don't have as much material turnover as normal. Now, this might be a disruption that's going to last for another month or two. And with these disruptions, you might see another $30 to $40 per ton added into the steel markets. Now, the oil prices we expect to continue to increase as OPEC recently announced that they're going to be putting more material into the market and possibly doing cuts going into the summer just to see how the markets are moving. We have a question we want to answer.
When will we stop buying Chinese steel and use our own?
Great question. Never. The answer is never. I think that we're so deep into the rabbit hole that other than doing a hard stop on all exports going into the Chinese market, it's going to be really hard. And it's really more of an import thing than an export thing. And I'll try to explain why. China buys material from all over the globe: India, Australia, Europe. And with all of these other places feeding the Chinese material, if the United States never sold a piece of steel to China again, which, by the way, most steel that the United States sells does not go to China, okay? If we never sold the Chinese scrap steel again, that doesn't prevent the problem of us buying scrap steel. Examples. You have different rebar, you have different pipes, you have different inside of your construction in the homes, all the different, oh my gosh, the all the, not the 2x4s, but the metal studs that you would put the drywall onto. Many of these are produced in China. And when they're being produced with material that was bought from Europe, from Australia, from other areas, and they're selling it to the United States, unless the United States as a whole says, nope, we're not going to buy stuff anymore, we're so deep into the relationship that we never see this happening. If it did happen, it would take an extremely strong administration and a very resilient American people to have this happen, because if we cut off all Chinese buying or importing, we would go into a worldwide recession, if not a partial depression, because the supply chains for iPhones, TVs, laptops, food like shrimp, all of these things, we would have a massive shortage of. And with the shortage, it would be really, really difficult to get those supply chains moving. The previous administration had a really hard stop on the Chinese with tariffs and different negotiating tactics. But unless we see major sweeping changes, it's going to be really tough, because the Chinese are able to sell American companies consumer goods at a much lower price than American companies are willing to pay to have it manufactured here in the country. So unless we have a massive sweep and we have more factories built, all materials built in, but also on top of that, think about it, you need furnaces to melt the steel. And many states, many counties, many towns, they don't want steel furnaces going into their area, even if they're in heavy industrial populated areas, they still don't want these things going in. So we're really in a bit of a pickle because we don't see changes coming anytime soon. Question we want to answer.
Do you see copper going to the moon?
I think copper going to the moon on one of Elon Musk's rockets, maybe. I mean, copper prices right now are one of the craziest things that I've seen in years. If you came to my scrapyard here in Rockaway, New Jersey, you would see a warehouse that almost looks like we are going out of business. We move materials so quickly because when prices are this high, there is zero reason to hold anything, because today, out of nowhere, 15-cent drop. Last week, we had a 15-cent increase. These things are not meant to swing quickly. When you get our price alerts, our news, our different blogs that we write about, what do we always say? We want even or very slow growth. But when you have big 15 to 20 cent swings like we're seeing right now, I don't know where copper is going to go. I still think that there's a very strong chance that the second half of this year, maybe the end of the third into the fourth quarter, when many nations across the entire world have more vaccinations, COVID levels are down, supply chains start to move normally, people get off of the couch and back into the workplace, unemployment benefits stop, we might start to see copper really responding and climbing back towards that $5 number. You know, we saw a trading number of copper at $4.87, and right now, and that was maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago, today it's at $4.44. So you're looking at a market that went down, I don't know, 10% in a matter of 3 weeks. And these market moving events are really causing such a problem because scrapyards, you know, you might think that scrapyards are making all of this money, but a 15-cent profit on copper is generally very high. And when you have a 15-cent swing happening day to day, week to week, scrapyards are going to widen their spreads, their margins, because they don't want to get hurt, especially at the price levels that they are spending, including my own yard that we're spending money at. We don't want to get hurt because when we get hurt, it's not on 1,000 pounds. It's on 10, 20, 30, 40,000 pound loads where thousands of dollars can get lost just by waking up and having markets move that quickly. Now, when we look at these markets overall, we look at a lot of economic factors that we talk about all the time. Gas prices, different numbers, trading numbers, hedging contracts. On the catalytic converter side of things, you see such volatility in a market for rhodium, for instance, that hit $28,000 an ounce, went down to $16,000 an ounce, up to $23,000 an ounce, down to $20,000 an ounce. Today, that's all in the last 4 weeks. These are market moving events that scare us silly because we don't know where to move it. Lead, for instance, soft lead prices traditionally would follow some of these other copper prices. But with the current presidential administration talking so much about electric vehicles and charging stations, the need for lead acid batteries, which are in 400 million cars just in the US alone, that lead, that acid that could be recycled, where is it going to be repurposed? Where is it going to go into? Because they're not making electric vehicles with rechargeable lead batteries. They're using different lithium types. And these are things that we don't know what's going to happen. There are so many questions that are so frustrating. Until all those dominoes fall, we really can't know how to predict things, especially with copper going up to the moon, as you so politely put it. Now, scrappers, we've been making videos, we've been talking about different things in our blogs, and we always like to ask you questions. How can we help you make more money with your scrap? Are there things that we're missing? I was talking to our social media manager earlier today. Let me learn how to speak. And we were talking about different numbers. What are numbers that you want to see from us? Are they gas prices? Are they different equipment prices? Are they truck prices? How are these prices fluctuating? Because steel has essentially doubled in the last 6 months. Aluminum doubled in the last 6 months. Copper doubled in the last year. With these commodities having such a big price increase, how are car prices going to be affected? Is your average low model F-150 going to be 5% more expensive year over year? We don't know because we see so many different pieces moving. We want to know from you what you're interested in that can help you continue to make more money with your scrap. Now, in the coming weeks, we're going to have some cool giveaways. We have some DeWalt tools, some Stanley tools, and we're going to have some competitions and some different pictures and guess the weights and different scrap stories that we're going to be pushing out there. So make sure you stay tuned to all of our different social channels, whether it's YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. We're going to be giving away tools, and we're also going to be talking about those tools, how you use them, what you can do with them to make more money with your scrap, and different suggestions that you may not have thought about. So as we get our tools and we start to promote them, we want to hear from you. Hey, what tools do you want to see us give away? We want to be able to give you the opportunity to tune in, to really get motivated, to tell us what you want us to do so you can make more money with your scrap. So whether it's working on the iScrap app 2.0, whether it's different social media posts, tell us what you want to see, because we don't work for us. We want to be able to work for you, to show you how to make more money with your scrap, to show you more market prices, more market news, more graphs, more pictures, more videos. You tell us what you want and we'll make sure to really focus our attention on those needs. Now, scrappers, today is Thursday, June 3rd, 2021. Generally, every Wednesday afternoon at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, we like to do our live feed both on YouTube and on Facebook. If you are not watching this live, hey, no big deal. You're probably out there scrapping. Hashtag hustle, baby. Let us know what you want to do. Ask us your questions. We'll make sure to get you those answers. Scrap often, stay healthy, and until next week, scrappers, I'll scrap you later.